Park Jiwoo had exactly three things going for him at 7:42 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday morning. A resume so padded it could double as a mattress. A baby in his belly who had recently discovered the joys of tap dancing on his bladder. Absolutely zero dignity left. Name? The receptionist at the Kwon household asked, peering over designer glasses that probably cost more than Jiwoo's rent. 3 months of rent, actually. The overdue kind. Park Jiwoo. Experience with children? Tons, Jiwoo said confidently. This was a lie. His experience with children consisted of once holding his cousin's baby for 11 seconds before it threw up on him, and b. being a child himself at some point, presumably. References. Absolutely. He slid a piece of paper across the marble counter. The receptionist studied it. This is a receipt from a convenience store. Wrong paper. Jiwoo snatched it back, his ears burning, and fished out another sheet. This one at least had names on it. Names of people who had agreed to lie for him in exchange for him doing their laundry for a month. A brotherhood forged in mutual desperation. The receptionist, a prim beta woman whose nameplate read Ms. Hong, gave him a look that could curdle milk, then glanced down at his midsection. You're expecting? Jiwoo instinctively put a hand over his 5-month bump, which was currently hidden under the baggiest hoodie known to mankind. Apparently not baggy enough. It's a food baby, he tried. Ms. Hong stared at him. A really committed food baby? Mr. Park. Okay, yes, I'm pregnant. But I'm extremely capable. I can multitask. I'm literally growing a human being right now while having this conversation. If that's not multitasking, I don't know what is. Ms. Hong's left eye twitched. Jiwoo was fairly certain that was not a positive sign. Before she could politely or impolitely show him the door, a crash exploded from somewhere deep in the house, followed by a shriek that could shatter crystal, and then the unmistakable sound of a grown man screaming the word "no" in a pitch that no alpha should be physically capable of producing. A door burst open. A man stumbled out, and Park Jiwoo's brain simply logged off. The man was tall, offensively tall, with broad shoulders, a jawline that looked like it had been carved by an artist who was showing off, and dark hair that was currently sticking up in 14 different directions. He was wearing a white dress shirt that had what appeared to be grape jelly smeared across the chest in the unmistakable shape of a handprint. A small, villainous handprint. He was, objectively, the most beautiful human being Jiwoo had ever seen. He was also holding a tiny shoe in one hand and had a piece of spaghetti in his hair. Ms. Hong, the man said, in a deep voice that vibrated through Jiwoo's skeleton. Please tell me that is a nanny candidate sitting in my foyer and not another door-to-door salesperson. Because if one more person tries to sell me essential oils as a parenting solution, I will commit a crime. This is Mr. Park Jiwoo, Ms. Hong said. He's here about the nanny position. The man, who could only be Kwon Seo-jun, CEO of Kwon Industries, widowed alpha, and apparently a man on the verge of a very stylish mental breakdown, turned to look at Jiwoo. Their eyes met. Jiwoo's inner omega, which he usually kept on a very tight leash because it had terrible taste and zero survival instincts, immediately sat up and started writing wedding invitations. No, Jiwoo told it firmly. We are here for a paycheck. We are here for survival. We are not here to fall in love with a ridiculously attractive disaster man with spaghetti in his hair. His inner omega was already picking out table centerpieces. Can you start today? Kwon Seo-jun asked. Jiwoo blinked. Don't you want to interview me? Can you keep 2 4-year-olds alive for 8 consecutive hours? Probably. You're hired. Mr. Kwon, Ms. Hong interjected, her voice strained with the patience of a woman who had been through this exact scenario many times. Perhaps we should review his qualifications. Another crash from inside the house. This one sounded expensive. He's hired, Ms. Hong. He's hired. The twins were named Kwon Hajuan and Kwon Haeun, and they were the cutest 4-year-olds Jiwoo had ever seen. In the same way that baby tigers are cute right up until they maul you. Hajuan, the older twin by 3 minutes, a fact he announced within the first 30 seconds of meeting Jiwoo, along with his favorite dinosaur and his blood type, which he had apparently memorized for emergency purposes. had his father's sharp dark eyes and a smile that radiated pure, chaotic mischief. Haein, the younger twin, had round cheeks, pigtails, and the calm, calculating stare of a tiny general surveying a battlefield. They stood side by side in the playroom, which looked like a toy store had exploded inside a hurricane, and studied Jiwoo with the intensity of two tiny hiring managers who were deeply unimpressed with the candidate. "You're the new nanny?" Hajuin asked. "I am. You can call me Jiwoo. It's nice to meet." "The last nanny cried," Haein said. "Oh, well, I'm sure. The one before her also cried," Hajuin added helpfully. "The one before her didn't cry," Haein said. Jiwoo relaxed slightly. "Oh good." She screamed. Jiwoo's smile calcified on his face. Seojun appeared behind him in the doorway, looking like a man dropping off a soldier at the front lines. "I have a meeting downtown. I'll be back by 6. Their schedule is on the fridge. Emergency numbers are on the counter. The fire extinguisher is under the kitchen sink." "Why would I need a fire extinguisher?" But Seojun was already gone. Jiwoo heard the front door close, then a car engine, then silence. He looked at the twins. The twins looked at him. "So," Jiwoo clapped his hands together. "What do you guys want to do?" "Why is your tummy big?" Hajuin asked, pointing directly at Jiwoo's midsection with the subtlety of a foghorn. Jiwoo looked down. His hoodie had ridden up when he'd bent to their level, revealing the undeniable curve of his belly. "Abort mission. Abort mission. I ate a lot of rice cakes." "That's not rice cakes," Haein said flatly. "Our neighbor Mrs. Choi looked like that and then she had a baby. There's a baby in there." 4-year-olds were basically tiny detectives with no filter. Jiwoo was learning this in real time. "Okay, yes, there's a baby in there." The twins' eyes went wide. They looked at each other. They looked at Jiwoo. They looked at each other again, conducting an entire silent conversation in the secret twin language that Jiwoo was not privy to. Then Hajuin gasped. "Can we keep it? It's not a puppy. Please. That's not how this works." Haein tugged on Jiwoo's sleeve. "Is it a boy baby or a girl baby?" "I don't know yet." "Can we name it?" "Absolutely not." "I want to name it Dinosaur," Hajuin announced. "That is exactly why you're not naming it." Haein tilted her head thoughtfully. "What about Princess Sparkle Thunderfist?" Jiwoo opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I'll take it under consideration." The rest of the day went like this. 9 a.m. Jiwoo attempted to serve the twins breakfast. Hajuin informed him that he only ate pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. Jiwoo made a circle pancake and told him it was a dinosaur egg. Hajuin considered this for 45 seconds, then accepted it. Crisis averted. 9:45 a.m. Haein asked Jiwoo to play salon with her. This involved Jiwoo sitting on a tiny plastic chair while Haein put 17 hair clips in his hair, applied makeup, stickers, and told him he looked okay, I guess. Hajuin served as the salon receptionist and charged Jiwoo imaginary money that he did not have. 10:30 a.m. The baby kicked. Both twins felt it and lost their collective minds. Hajuin tried to talk to the baby through Jiwoo's belly button like it was a microphone. "Hello in there. This is your brother Hajuin." Jiwoo did not have the heart to explain that was not how any of this worked. 11:15 a.m. Jiwoo's morning sickness, which his body had hilariously decided should also be afternoon sickness, evening sickness, and, surprise, it's 2 a.m. sickness, made a guest appearance. He barely made it to the bathroom. When he came out, both twins were standing outside the door holding a glass of water and a cracker. "Mrs. Choi threw up a lot too," Haein said sagely. "It's because the baby is stealing your food." "The baby is a thief," Hajuin whispered, awed. 12 p.m. lunch. Jiwoo made sandwiches. Hajuin ate the bread and left the filling. Haein ate the filling and left the bread. Jiwoo ate his feelings. 1 p.m. nap time. Jiwoo read them a story. Hajuin requested a story about a dinosaur who fights a dragon, and also there's a rocket ship. Haein requested something with emotional depth. She was 4. Jiwoo improvised a story about a dinosaur who was sad because he couldn't fly, so he built a rocket ship and went to space and fought a dragon who was actually just lonely and needed a friend. Both twins approved. Jiwoo considered a career in children's literature. 1:30 p.m. The twins fell asleep. Jiwoo also fell asleep. On the floor, between 2 tiny beds, with 17 hair clips still in his hair. He dreamed about jawlines and spaghetti. He chose not to examine this. 3 p.m. The twins woke up and decided they wanted to make a surprise for Papa. This involved glitter. So much glitter. An unconscionable amount of glitter. Jiwoo would later find glitter in places glitter had no business being. Behind his ears. In his socks. In the peanut butter jar. Glitter is the herpes of the craft world. It never fully goes away. For 30 p.m., the twins presented Jiwoo with a drawing. It showed a large figure, Jiwoo, identifiable by the round belly. A smaller figure inside the belly, the baby, depicted as a circle with angry eyebrows. Because it's a thief, Hajuin explained, and 2 tiny figures on either side holding the big figure's hands, the twins. Jiwoo did not cry. He absolutely, categorically, 100% did not cry. Why is the nanny leaking? Hajuin asked Haein. Hormones, Haein said, with the confidence of a medical professional. Seojun arrived at 5:47 p.m., 13 minutes ahead of schedule, because he had spent the entire board meeting thinking about whether his children had broken the new nanny yet and also, confusingly, about the way the new nanny had smiled at him that morning. This was irritating. He did not have time for confusing feelings about pretty Omega nannies with terrible resumes and warm brown eyes. He had a company to run. He had children to raise. He had spaghetti to get out of his hair. Wait, he'd handled that one. Probably. He loosened his tie as he walked through the front door, bracing himself for chaos, tears, a resignation letter, or some combination thereof. Instead, he found something that made him stop dead in the hallway. Jiwoo was on the couch, asleep. Hajuin was asleep on his left side, tucked under his arm. Haein was asleep on his right side, her small hand resting on Jiwoo's belly as if guarding it. A children's book lay open on Jiwoo's lap. His hair was full of glittery clips. There were star stickers on his cheeks. The house was clean. Well, cleanish. There was glitter on the ceiling, which Seojun had questions about but decided could wait. Something in Seojun's chest did a complicated maneuver that he refused to classify as an emotion. He stood there for an embarrassingly long time just looking. Ms. Hong appeared beside him, took one look at his face, and sighed the sigh of a woman who could see the future and wanted no part of it. Don't, she said. I didn't say anything. You were thinking it. You don't know what I was thinking. You were thinking he's cute. I was thinking no such. You have that look. What look? The look your father had when he met your mother. The look your grandfather had when he met your grandmother. The Kwan family idiot look. It's genetic. Ms. Hong, I am your employer, and I've known you since you were in diapers, so I am immune to your authority. That boy has been here for 9 hours. 9 hours. At least wait until day 3 before you start being emotionally compromised. Seojun straightened his tie with great dignity. I am not emotionally compromised. At that exact moment, Jai was stirred, blinked his eyes open, saw Seojun, and gave him a sleepy, disoriented smile that was so soft and unguarded it could have been classified as a deadly weapon. Oh, Mr. Kwan, you're home. The kids were great, really great. They only committed a normal amount of crimes today. Seojun forgot his own name for a full 2 seconds. Ms. Hong pinched the bridge of her nose. Day 1. It's day 1. Over the next few days, Seojun pieced together Jiwoo's story in fragments. A detail here, a comment there, because Jiwoo talked the way a pinball machine operated. Fast, in unexpected directions, and with a lot of noise. Here was what Seojun gathered. Jiwoo was 25. He'd been in a relationship with an alpha who, upon learning about the pregnancy, had executed what Jiwoo cheerfully referred to as the classic disappearing act. You know, now you see him, now you don't, except the don't is permanent. The alpha had left. Jiwoo's lease had been in the alpha's name. Jiwoo's savings had been approximately enough to buy a nice lunch. Maybe two if he skipped drinks. He'd been couch surfing with friends, picking up odd jobs, and trying to figure out how to build a stable life before the baby came. The nanny job at the Kwon household. Live-in, well-paying, and no experience required. Seo-jun had been that desperate. Had been a lifeline. Jiwoo told this story with a bright smile, lots of jokes, and absolutely no self-pity, which somehow made it worse. It's honestly fine, Jiwoo said, folding tiny laundry with expert efficiency. He'd gotten good at this very quickly. Survival skills. I mean, the morning sickness is annoying, and my back hurts like someone is using my spine as a xylophone, and sometimes I cry because I saw a dog wearing a sweater, but that's just hormones. I'm fine. You cried over a dog in a sweater? Seo-jun asked, leaning against the kitchen doorway and absolutely not finding this endearing. Not at all. Not even slightly. He was finding it incredibly endearing. It had little booties, Mr. Kwon. Booties. On its tiny feet. I'm not made of stone. You can call me Seo-jun. Jiwoo looked up from the laundry, surprised. Oh, okay. Seo-jun. It was just his name. Just 2 syllables. People said it to him 18 times a day. There was no reason for it to sound different coming from Jiwoo's mouth. No reason at all. Papa! Ha-jun rocketed into the kitchen at full speed, which was his only speed. Papa! Jiwoo taught us a song today. It goes. He took a deep breath. Old MacDonald had a farm, and on that farm he had a T-Rex. That's not how the song goes, Seo-jun said. It is now, Ha-jun said, and continued singing at a volume that suggested he was trying to communicate with satellites. Haein followed at a more dignified pace, holding a piece of paper. She presented it to Seo-jun with great ceremony. I drew our family. Seo-jun looked at the drawing. There was Papa, tall, serious-looking, accurate. There was Ha-jun, small, screaming, also accurate. There was Haein, small, wearing a crown, aspirational but fair. And there, right in the middle, was a figure with a round belly, star stickers on his cheeks, and a big smile. That's Jiwoo, Haein said. He's in our family now. Seo-jun looked at the drawing. He looked at Jiwoo, who was turning progressively pinker. He looked at Ms. Hong, who was standing in the background mouthing Day 4, and holding up 4 fingers with an expression of resigned despair. It's a very nice drawing, Seo-jun said, because he was a coward and this was not a conversation he was prepared to have while his heart was doing gymnastics. It was on day 7, 1 full week of employment, that Jiwoo accidentally became the talk of the neighborhood. It started innocently enough. Seo-jun had the morning off, a rare celestial event, like a solar eclipse or Ms. Hong smiling. And Jiwoo suggested they all go grocery shopping together because the house was out of the specific brand of apple juice that Ha-jun had pledged his undying loyalty to. We could just order delivery, Seo-jun said. Where's the fun in that? The twins should experience real life. Socialization. The produce aisle. The produce aisle is not an experience. Spoken like a man who has never squeezed an avocado. So they went. All 4 of them. Seo-jun in his weekend casual, which was still offensively handsome. The man wore a simple black t-shirt like he was being photographed for a magazine. Jiwoo in his now signature oversized hoodie, and the twins in matching overalls that made every elderly person within a 50-meter radius coo involuntarily. The problems started almost immediately. Problem 1, Ha-jun wanted to ride in the cart. Haein also wanted to ride in the cart. The cart was not big enough for 2 children and groceries. Negotiation ensued. Ha-jun offered Haein 3 gummy bears and his second-best dinosaur in exchange for cart supremacy. Haein counteroffered with no. Ha-jun tried to filibuster. Jiwoo, in a moment of genius or exhaustion-induced delirium, suggested they take turns, with the non-cart twin getting to pick one special item. Peace was restored. The UN could never. Problem 2. An elderly woman in the dairy section took one look at Seo-jun, Jiwoo, and the twins, put her hands over her heart, and said, loudly to her friend, "Oh, look at that beautiful family, and another one on the way. Young love is so wonderful." Jiwoo turned the color of a fire truck. Seojun became very interested in yogurt. We're not, Jiwoo started. He looks just like his father, the woman continued, gesturing at Hajuin, who was licking a cheese sample with full commitment. Same eyes. I'm not there. And the little girl has your smile. Jiwoo did not, in fact, share any genetic material with Haeun. But Haeun, upon hearing this, looked up at Jiwoo and beamed so radiantly that Jiwoo's brain short-circuited, and he forgot to correct the woman. Seojun also did not correct the woman. Ms. Hong, who was not present, would later sense this failure in the force and sigh from 3 kilometers away. Problem 3. They ran into Seojun's mother. Kwon Min-young, matriarch of the Kwon family, alpha philanthropist, and professional meddler, rounded the corner of Aisle 7, International Foods, like a designer-clad ambush predator spotting prey. Seojun? What are you? Her eyes locked onto Jiwoo, then onto Jiwoo's belly, then onto the twins who were flanking Jiwoo like tiny bodyguards, then back to Seojun. A smile spread across her face, the kind of smile that preceded either great joy or great chaos, usually both. Well, she said, and each well sounded like a nail in Seojun's coffin. Mother, this is Park Jiwoo. He's the twins' nanny. Nanny, of course. Her smile did not diminish by a single what. And how are you finding the position, Mr. Park? It's great, ma'am. Your grandchildren are wonderful. Hajuin only tried to eat something non-food related twice today, and Haeun has been teaching me about the socio-economic structures of her stuffed animal kingdom. So I'm really learning a lot. Min-young laughed. A real laugh, warm and delighted, and looked at Seojun with an expression that said, in the universal language of mothers everywhere, if you don't lock this down, I will be disappointed in you forever. You must come to Sunday dinner, Min-young said to Jiwoo. Oh, I couldn't possibly. I insist. Mother, Seojun warned. Seojun, she warned right back, and because she had 30 years of practice and the conversational equivalent of a black belt, she won. She always won. I'll see you Sunday, Jiwoo dear. She patted his cheek, kissed both grandchildren, gave Seojun a look loaded with more meaning than a doctoral thesis, and swept away. In the car ride home, Seojun gripped the steering wheel and stared at the road with the intensity of a man questioning every decision that had led to this moment. Your mom seems nice, Jiwoo said from the passenger seat. She is planning something. Planning what? Our wedding, probably. The word, wedding, dropped into the car like a brick into a pond. Jiwoo made a noise like a deflating balloon. She what? From the back seat, Hajuin asked. What's a wedding? It's when 2 people love each other very much and throw a big party, Haeun explained. Can I bring my dinosaurs? Obviously. Then I'm in. Nobody is getting married, Jiwoo and Seojun said in perfect unison, which, in retrospect, was not the convincing denial they thought it was. By week 3, certain things had become established facts of the Kwon household. Fact 1. Jiwoo was the best nanny the twins had ever had. This was not a high bar. The previous record holder had lasted 11 days, but Jiwoo had cleared it on day 2 and kept going. Fact 2. The twins were obsessed with Jiwoo's baby. They talked to it, sang to it, read its stories, and had a running debate about whether it could hear them. It could. Jiwoo's doctor confirmed it. The twins treated this information like they'd been handed the nuclear codes. Fact 3. Jiwoo had rearranged his sleeping schedule, his eating schedule, and his entire life around the twins' routines, and he'd never been happier. He hadn't had a family in a long time. He hadn't realized how much he'd missed it. Fact 4. Seojun was starting to come home earlier. This last fact had not gone unnoticed. Your 7 p.m. meeting on Thursdays, Ms. Hong said, checking her tablet. You've canceled it. Again. It wasn't essential. It was with the Singapore office. They'll survive. And yesterday you left at 4:30. I had a headache. You never get headaches. I got one. You got a text from Jiwoo with a picture of the twins' finger painting, and you suddenly got a headache and went home. Seojun said nothing, which was its own confession. Ms. Hong added emotionally compromised to her mental file and moved on. That evening, Seo Jun arrived home at 5:30. He didn't even bother with an excuse this time, to discover that bedtime had become a battleground. Here was the issue. The twins had decided they no longer wanted to sleep in their own rooms. They wanted to sleep with Jiwoo. But why? Jiwoo asked, standing in the hallway between two tiny bedroom doors, looking like a diplomat negotiating a ceasefire. Because the baby needs a bedtime story too, Ha-Jun said, as if this were the most obvious thing in the world. If we're not there, who will read to the baby? The baby is inside me. It goes wherever I go. But what if it gets lonely at night? Haen's lower lip wobbled. The wobble, the most powerful weapon in any child's arsenal. Entire empires had fallen to the wobble. Jiwoo looked at Seo Jun for backup. Seo Jun looked at the wobble. Maybe just tonight, Seo Jun said. Jiwoo gaped at him. You are the weakest man alive. Have you seen the lip thing she does? Yes, I see it 12 times a day. You have to be strong. I am strong. I am a strong, capable alpha. Haen wobbled harder. She can sleep with you tonight, Seo Jun whispered. Both of us, Ha-Jun clarified. Both of them? Seo Jun confirmed, crumbling like a sandcastle in a tsunami. Jiwoo threw his hands up. Fine, but just tonight. Tonight became every night. Jiwoo's room in the Kwan house, a lovely guest suite that was bigger than his previous apartment, became the unofficial family bedroom. The twins brought their blankets, their stuffed animals, and approximately 47 dinosaur figurines. Ha-Jun's contribution to interior design. They developed a routine. Jiwoo would read a story. Ha-Jun would provide sound effects. Every story, regardless of genre, apparently required explosion sounds. Haen would add editorial commentary. The prince should have negotiated instead of fighting. Violence is not a sustainable conflict resolution strategy. She was 4. Jiwoo would sing a lullaby. Both twins would put their hands on Jiwoo's belly and say goodnight to the baby. Everyone would fall asleep in a warm, tangled pile. One evening, Seo Jun came to check on them before bed and found all three asleep. Jiwoo in the middle, one twin on each side, his arms around them, his face peaceful in a way it never quite was when he was awake. Seo Jun pulled the blanket up over them, turned off the lamp, and stood in the doorway for a moment that stretched into a minute that stretched into something he couldn't name. He went to his own room, his large, empty, perfectly organized room, and lay in his large, empty, perfectly made bed, and stared at his large, empty, perfectly painted ceiling. This is fine, he said to no one. It was not fine. Sunday dinner at the Kwan family estate was an event. Not event in a casual sense like, oh, we're having tacos, it's a whole event. An actual event, with courses, and silverware you needed a manual for. And Seojin's mother, seated at the head of the table like a queen holding court, orchestrating the evening with the precision of a military campaign. The campaign's objective: get Seo Jun and Jiwoo together. The troops. Every single member of the Kwan extended family. Jiwoo, innocent lamb that he was, walked right into it. Jiwoo, dear, sit next to Seo Jun, Minyoung said, gesturing to two seats that were suspiciously close together, like shoulders touching close, like, we definitely rearranged the seating chart for this close. Oh, I can sit anywhere. Next to Seo Jun. It was not a suggestion. Jiwoo sat next to Seo Jun. Their elbows touched. Jiwoo's entire left side caught fire. Metaphorically, he hoped. Seojin's younger brother, Kwon Seoho, a beta with the energy of a golden retriever and the tact of a freight train, leaned across the table immediately. So you're the nanny Seojin Hyung won't stop talking about. I don't talk about him, Seo Jun said. You mentioned him 4 times at lunch on Wednesday. I was providing a status update on my children's care. You said, and I quote, Jiwoo made this really good japshi and the way he laughs is... And then you just stopped talking and stared at the wall for 10 seconds. The table went silent. 16 pairs of eyes turned to Seo Jun. Seo Jun contemplated faking his own death. He could do it. He had resources. I was thinking about quarterly earnings, he said. While talking about how someone laughs? I'm a multitasker. Jiwoo, meanwhile, had gone so red he could have guided ships through fog. Minyoung smiled serenely and served the soup. The rest of dinner proceeded as follows. Seojun's aunt accidentally brought up how lonely Seojun must be in that big house with no partner. Seojun's uncle casually mentioned that he'd read an article about how children thrive with two parents. Seojun's grandmother, a tiny woman with the sharpness of a samurai sword, looked Jiwoo up and down, nodded once and said, "Good hips, strong pups," then returned to her soup. Jiwoo nearly inhaled a dumpling. Hajuin announced to the entire table, "Jiwoo is having a baby and we're going to keep it." Haein clarified, "We've already named it Princess Sparkle Thunderfist." Seojun put his face in his hands. After dinner, Jiwoo escaped to the garden for air, only to find Minyoung already there, which meant it wasn't an escape at all. It was another ambush. The woman was everywhere. "Mrs. Kwan, I'm sorry about the confusion. I want you to know that Seojun and I are strictly professional. Do you like my son, Jiwoo?" What that's?" Jiwoo sputtered like an engine running out of fuel. "He's my employer." "That's not what I asked." Jiwoo looked at his shoes. His face was hot. His heart was doing something irregular that probably warranted medical attention. "He's a good father," Jiwoo said quietly. "The way he loves those kids. The way he remembers their favorite foods and checks on them at night and pretends he's not terrified of getting it wrong. I've never met anyone like him." Minyoung's expression softened. "He hasn't smiled like this in a long time, you know? Not since he lost his mate. And those children, I've never seen them attached to someone the way they've attached to you." Jiwoo's hand went to his belly. "I'm a mess, Mrs. Kwan. I'm pregnant. I'm broke. I have glitter permanently embedded in my skin, and I cried at a cereal commercial yesterday. I'm not exactly a catch." Minyoung took his hand. "My dear boy, you walked into a stranger's home, won over 2 children who had driven away 7 nannies, brought laughter back into a house that had been too quiet for too long, and you did it all while growing a life inside you. If that's not a catch, I don't know what is." Jiwoo's eyes filled with tears. "Hormones," he whispered. "Of course," Minyoung said, and hugged him. It happened on a Wednesday. Jiwoo was 6 months pregnant, round and glowing and constantly hungry. He'd been at the Kwan house for 6 weeks, and it had started to feel less like a job and more like home, which was terrifying because homes could be taken away. He knew that better than anyone. It was 2 a.m. when the contractions started. Not real contractions, Braxton Hicks, his doctor had warned him about them. Practice contractions. His uterus rehearsing for the main event. But Jiwoo didn't know that at 2 a.m., alone in the dark, gripped by pain and panic, he knew 3 things. Something was wrong. He was scared. He wanted Seojun. That third one slipped in before he could stop it, honest and undeniable, and he filed it away under things to have a crisis about later, as he fumbled for his phone. Seojun answered on the first ring. His voice was gravelly with sleep, and even in his panic, some unhelpful part of Jiwoo's brain noted that it sounded really, really good. "Jiwoo? What's wrong?" "I think something's happening. With the baby. It hurts." He heard sheets rustling, footsteps, and then his door was opening and Seojun was there. In a rumpled t-shirt and sweats, hair a disaster, eyes sharp with worry. "Where does it hurt?" He was kneeling beside Jiwoo's bed in an instant, and his hand found Jiwoo's hand in the dark, and Jiwoo held on like it was the only solid thing in a spinning world. "My stomach. It keeps tightening." "How often?" "I don't know, every few minutes." "Okay, we're going to the hospital. Can you walk?" "I think so." He couldn't. His legs were shaking. Whether from pain or fear, he couldn't tell. Seojun picked him up, just scooped him up like he weighed nothing, one arm under his knees and one behind his back, and carried him. "The twins," Jiwoo started. "Ms. Hong is on her way. I already texted her. Just breathe." In the car, Seojun drove with one hand and held Jiwoo's hand with the other, and Jiwoo focused on the warmth of his palm and the steady rhythm of his breathing and tried not to fall apart. "I'm scared," Jiwoo admitted, very small. "I know, but you're not alone. I'm right here. You don't have to." "I'm right here, Jiwoo." The doctor confirmed it was Braxton Hicks. Normal. Not dangerous. Baby was fine, strong heartbeat, good position, probably wondering what all the fuss was about. They gave Jiwoo water, told him to rest, and sent them home. In the car on the way back, Jiwoo stared out the window and tried to pull himself together. "I'm sorry," he said. "I panicked. I dragged you out of bed for false contractions. Don't apologize." "But, Jiwoo." Seojin's voice was firm but gentle. "You were in pain and you were scared and you called me. Do you know how glad I am that you called me?" Jiwoo looked at him. Seojun was staring at the road, jaw tight, hands gripping the steering wheel, and he looked not angry, something else, something fierce and protective and barely contained. "When I heard your voice on the phone," Seojun said quietly, "I have never moved so fast in my life. Not for a business deal, not for a contract, not for anything. Do you understand what I'm telling you?" Jiwoo's breath caught. "Seojun, you don't have to say anything. Not now. I know the situation is complicated. I know I'm your employer and the power dynamic is. I know all of that. I've been arguing with myself about it for weeks. But I need you to know that you are not just a nanny in that house. Not to the twins. And not to me." Silence. The car hummed. Jiwoo's heart hammered. "The first day," Jiwoo finally said, "when you walked out with spaghetti in your hair and jelly on your shirt, my inner Omega started planning a wedding." Seojun blinked. Looked at him. "What?" "I told it to shut up, obviously. I was there for a paycheck. But it just knew." Jiwoo laughed, wet and shaky. "It just knew." Seojun pulled the car over. Right there, on the side of the road, at 3:47 a.m., under a streetlight that cast everything in warm gold. He turned to Jiwoo. His expression was open in a way Jiwoo had never seen. All the composure stripped away, leaving something raw and real and hoping. "Can I?" Seojun stopped. Started again. "Can I court you? Properly. Not as your employer. As me. As someone who wants to be in your life. And the baby's life. And who wants you in mine. And the twins." "Yes." "I haven't finished. I don't care." "Yes." The answer is yes. It's been yes since the spaghetti hair. "Please stop talking," and Seojun kissed him. Soft, careful. One hand cradling his jaw like he was something precious. Jiwoo melted into it like he was made for this exact moment, this exact person, this exact 3:47 a.m. under a streetlight on a random Wednesday. When they pulled apart, Jiwoo was crying. Again. "Hormones," Seojun murmured, smiling. "Shut up. It's definitely hormones." "Definitely." "Stop smiling." "I can't." They decided to tell the twins over breakfast the next morning. Seojun was nervous. He'd prepared a whole speech, age-appropriate, thoughtful, leaving room for questions and feelings. He'd even consulted a parenting book at 4 a.m. He had not slept. He had been too busy grinning at the ceiling like an idiot. "Kids," he began, sitting at the kitchen table with the gravity of a man delivering a state address. "Jiwoo and I have something to tell you." Hajuan looked up from his dinosaur-shaped pancake. Jiwoo had actually learned to make them dinosaur-shaped. Character development. Haein set down her juice with the deliberate calm of a poker player. "Jiwoo and I." Seojun looked at Jiwoo. Jiwoo squeezed his hand under the table. "We've decided that we care about each other very much. In a special way. And we'd like to." "Are you getting married?" Hajuan asked. "We're taking it slow." "Is Jiwoo gonna be our papa?" Haein asked. "Well, eventually, if things—" "Papa!" Hajuan launched himself out of his chair and onto Jiwoo like a tiny missile. "Papa Jiwoo." "I knew it. I told Haein. I told her on day one." "You did not," Haein said, climbing down from her chair with more dignity but equal speed, and attaching herself to Jiwoo's other side. "I told you." "Did not." "Did too." Papa Jiwoo. Tell her I called it first. Jiwoo, buried under two tiny humans, both of whom were chanting Papa like it was a victory song, looked at Seo-jun with tears streaming down his face and whispered, "Hormones. Baby, at this point, I think it's just feelings. Don't call me baby. I'll cry harder." "Baby." Jiwoo cried harder. Hajun, alarmed, patted Jiwoo's face with a syrup-sticky hand. "Don't cry, Papa. If someone is being mean to you, I'll fight them. I'm very strong. I opened a juice box by myself yesterday. No one is being mean to me, sweetheart. I'm happy." "Then why are you crying?" "Because I'm happy." "Adults are confusing," Hajun informed Haeun. "Deeply," she agreed. 3 months later, the baby came on a Sunday afternoon, because Park Jiwoo was biologically incapable of doing anything without maximum drama. It started at the Kwon family's Sunday dinner, naturally. Because of course it did. Because the universe had a sense of humor and it was committed to the bit. Jiwoo was 8 months and 3 weeks pregnant, roughly the size of a small planet, and had reached the stage of pregnancy where he waddled instead of walked and couldn't see his own feet, which he was informed still existed but frankly had to take on faith. He was also, as of 1 month ago, officially Seojun's boyfriend. The courting had been disgustingly romantic. Flowers, love notes, actual dates. Miss Hong babysat and complained the entire time while also buying a new outfit for each occasion because, if I'm going to be a martyr, I'll be a well-dressed one. They hadn't told the extended family yet, though. Wait, that's not accurate. They hadn't formally told the extended family. Every single member of the Kwon family had known since approximately 2 seconds after the grocery store encounter, because Minyoung had a communication network that put most intelligence agencies to shame. But formalities mattered to Seo-jun, so he planned to announce it at Sunday dinner. He never got the chance. Jiwoo was reaching for the mashed potatoes when his water broke. Let the record show. It broke spectacularly. In a gush. At the dinner table. In front of 14 kwons, 2 tiny children, and a platter of beef that would never be the same. "Oh," Jiwoo said, looking down. Then, louder, "OH. What's wrong?" Seo-jun was on his feet instantly, every alpha instinct on high alert. I think the baby is coming. Now." "I didn't exactly schedule it, Seo-jun." What followed was the most chaotic 30 minutes in Kwon family history. And this was a family that had survived corporate takeovers. A grandmother who once challenged a government official to an arm wrestling match, and won. And the time Hajun released a frog in the formal dining room during a charity gala. Seo-jun carried Jiwoo to the car. Again, Jiwoo would later claim he could have walked. Everyone who witnessed his legs buckling would disagree. Seo-ho was put in charge of the twins, which was like putting a golden retriever in charge of 2 cats. Well-intentioned but structurally unsound. Minyoung commanded the remaining family members with military precision. Seo-ho, the children. Aunt June, call the hospital. Uncle Byung-hoon, move your car, you're blocking the driveway. Grandmother, please put down the soju. This is an emergency. Grandmother, the SOJU, down. At the hospital, Seo-jun held Jiwoo's hand through every contraction, and Jiwoo, delirious with pain, said things he would later deny. "I love you, you idiot. Your jaw is stupid. Why is your jaw like that? It's distracting. Just breathe, baby. Don't tell me to breathe. Breathing is what got me into this. That's not anatomically. I will end you, Kwon Seojun. I love you too. Stop being sweet. I'm trying to threaten you." The baby was born at 7:42 p.m. A boy, small and pink and absolutely furious about being evicted from his warm, rent-free apartment. The doctor placed him on Jiwoo's chest, and everything, the noise, the chaos, the lights, the pain, everything fell away. "Hi," Jiwoo whispered, touching a tiny hand. "Hi you. I've been waiting for you." The baby screamed. "Fair enough." Jiwoo laughed through his tears. "I probably deserve that." Seo-jun leaned over them both, and his eyes were red, and his voice was wrecked, and he said, "He's perfect. He's so angry. He's an overachiever. Takes after his papa. Which one? Seojun smiled. The big one. The one that made his eyes crinkle and his whole face transform from intimidating CEO to absolute marshmallow. The one that was only for Jiwoo. Both. The twins met their baby brother the next morning. They approached the hospital bassinet with the reverence of pilgrims approaching a holy site. Hajuin peered over the edge, stood on his tiptoes, and stared at the tiny sleeping bundle. "He's so small," he whispered. "Was I that small?" "Smaller," Seojun said. "No way. I was definitely bigger. I was probably huge." Haein studied the baby with her trademark analytical stare, then looked at Jiwoo. "What's his name?" Jiwoo and Seojun exchanged a look. "Kwon Jiho," Jiwoo said. "We are not naming him Princess Sparkle Thunderfist," Seojun had said. "Obviously not," Jiwoo had agreed. "That's his middle name." "It absolutely is not." "Too late. I already told Haein." "Jiwoo." "Kwon Jiho," Haein repeated, testing it. She nodded. "Acceptable. Can I hold him?" Hajuin asked, vibrating with barely contained excitement. Seojun helped him sit in a chair and carefully placed the baby in his arms, keeping his own hands close for support. Hajuin looked down at his baby brother with an expression of such awe and tenderness that Jiwoo started crying again. At this point, everyone had stopped asking if it was hormones. "Hi, Jiho," Hajuin said softly, in the quietest voice he had ever used in his life. "I'm your big brother. I'm going to teach you about dinosaurs. And if anyone is ever mean to you, I'll fight them. I'm very strong. I opened a juice box by myself." Haein leaned against Jiwoo's bed and held his hand. "Papa." "Yeah. Baby? Thank you for staying." Jiwoo's heart cracked wide open. He pulled her up onto the bed and held her close and pressed a kiss to her hair. "I'm not going anywhere. Not ever." From the doorway, Ms. Hong watched the scene, the Alpha and the Omega, the twins and the baby, the family that had been built not from blood but from burnt pancakes and glitter and 2 a.m. car rides and a courage so quiet it was easy to miss. She was not crying. She was not. "Allergies," she muttered, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. "Seasonal. Very common." Epilogue 1 year later. The Kwon household at 7:42 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday morning. Hajuin, now 5, was explaining to baby Jiho, who could not yet understand words but was an excellent listener, that the T-Rex was actually not the strongest dinosaur. That's propaganda. The real strongest is. Haein, also 5, was reading a book that was slightly above her reading level because she was not going to let arbitrary age-based categorizations limit her intellectual growth. Jiwoo had no idea where she'd learned that phrase. Seojun suspected Ms. Hong. Jiho, 7 months old, was sitting in his high chair, gumming a teething ring and staring at the ceiling with the intensity of a philosopher contemplating the void. Jiwoo was making breakfast, dinosaur pancakes, regular pancakes, and coffee, because he had graduated from morning sickness to morning exhaustion. Parenthood. The sequel nobody warns you about. Seojun came up behind him, wrapped his arms around his waist, and pressed a kiss to his neck. "Good morning. Your son was up at 4 a.m. At 4 a.m., he's your son. That's not how biology works." Jiwoo leaned back into him, smiling. On his left hand, a ring caught the morning light. Simple. Silver. Engraved on the inside with a date, the day they met. The day Seojun walked out of a room with spaghetti in his hair, and Jiwoo's entire life changed direction. "Papa! Papa!" Hajuin barreled into the kitchen. "Can Princess Sparkle Thunderfist come to my birthday party?" "Hajuin, we've talked about this. Your brother's name is Jiho. His real name is Princess Sparkle Thunderfist. Jiho is his stage name." Jiwoo looked at Seojun. Seojun looked at Jiwoo. They burst out laughing. And in the Kwon house on a rainy Tuesday morning, between dinosaur pancakes and a baby covered in drool and 2 5-year-olds who were already arguing about party planning, in all the mess and the noise and the beautiful, ridiculous chaos of it, there was love. So much love. And glitter. There was always glitter. The end.